Welcome to the show, everyone. We're back for another episode of Expert Q&A, and today we have a very special guest with us. He is a professor and researcher at the Department of Political Science at the Ateneo de Manila University, and he's going to be joining us today to talk about the post-election update. So we're really going to go into that. You've got Mike and Lexy on deck. Again, for Expert Q&A, we've got Professor Arjan Aguirre.
Professor Arjan, thank you so much for taking the time. We appreciate it. You look amazing, by the way. I love the
Okay.
beard. It's a really good look. When I saw you in college, I don't recall you having that. It's a good look to you. So to start things off, Professor, as you know, it seems like it's all said and done that Bongbong Marcos will be the president, and Sara Duterte will be the vice president as well. So considering the transition and change from the previous administration to this new one, what do you think will be the primary significant changes, if any, in comparison to Duterte's administration?
So actually, I'm excited, okay, about his economic team. Okay, so we all know that he already announced, his, members of the economic team, and the background or the experience, the track record of those people who will compose his economic team. To me, they are very impressive. I'm excited because I know that we are just rebounding, or we're just recovering from the negative effects of the COVID-19 to our economy. So I'm really hopeful that with this appointment of seasoned economists, well-known technocrats, we can somehow recover well, okay, in the next 3 years. So far, as regards the political side of things, I'm a bit concerned, okay, with how the president-elect, okay, chose his DOJ secretary, DepEd secretary, even the press secretary. So I'm reviewing some of the names that came out in the news these past few days, and I have noticed that these are well-known supporters or loyalists of the Marcos dynasty. So again, for the economic side of things, I'm a bit excited and hopeful, but when it comes to the political side of things, I'm a bit concerned, and I'm really hoping that something good will come out of this, because the economy might be okay, but for the political, we're going to be a bit more concerned about this.
Professor Aguirre, you mentioned the appointment of certain members of his cabinet. The past few days, they've been announcing who will be doing what, who will be heading particular departments. And I think one name that obviously stood out to a lot of us is Sara Duterte. Being a professor yourself and seeing how her background doesn't seemingly align with her position as the secretary of the Department of Education, what are your thoughts about her appointment in that position?
Okay, so number one, we should not forget that Mayor Sara Duterte is a lawyer, a seasoned local politician. Okay, so I think the president-elect chose her to be the secretary of the Department of Education because of her, strong political will. We all know that as the daughter of the current president, perhaps she inherited some of the qualities of President Rodrigo Roa Duterte, and I think one of those qualities is being so strong, fearsome when it comes to leadership. You cannot just influencer. But when it comes to the needed skills, or perhaps the background, the knowledge, the familiarity of the issues hounding our education sector, I don't think that she's okay with that, or she's fit to be the secretary of the Department of Education. So I think the very basis of her appointment is her loyalty, her close connection, So I'm expecting that Mayor Sara Duterte or the Vice President elect, Sara Duterte Carpio, will be, spearheading or perhaps initiating radical, perhaps changes in the Department of Education. She will introduce, controversial changes. One of which, of course, I'm expecting that she might, introduce reform in the very contents of our textbooks, because this is one of the controversial, issues surrounding our, Department of Education. So the content of the textbook, especially when it comes to the stories of martial law, the ends of people power. So these days, many teachers or academics are concerned about, how the story of martial law, story of EDSA are being told to, these stories are being told to the students. So I'm sure the incoming secretary will, touch this issue in the coming years. Okay, so I think this is part of their effort to, let's say, introduce a new narrative. Somehow alter perhaps the story to favor, the sitting or the incoming administration.
Okay, so just to give some of our listeners a rundown of the appointed cabinet members for the new administration, we're going to run down some of the names that have already been announced. So for the Department of Finance, they're looking at the Bangko Sentral ng Pilipinas Governor Benjamin Diokno. For DPWH, we have SMC Tollways President and Chief Executive Officer Manuel Bonoan. So he previously served as the DPWH Undersecretary during the Estrada and Arroyo administration. For the Special Assistant to the President, we have former Davao del Norte Representative Anton Lagdameo Jr. Executive Secretary is President-elect Bongbong Marcos' longtime Chief of Staff and spokesperson, Attorney Vic Rodriguez.
And of course, just as secretary, we have Cavite Representative Jesus Crispin Remula, National Economic and Development Authority or NEDA, si Arsenio Balisacan. For the Labor Secretary, Bienvenido Laguesma. The Secretary of the Department of Migrant Workers, we got Susan Ople. The Press Secretary, announced the other day lang, si Rose Beatrix Trixie Cruz Angeles. And the, of course, DepEd Secretary, Vice President-elect Sara Duterte. And Professor Arjan, with all these names mentioned, we touched upon briefly on how what your thoughts are with regards to Sara Duterte leading the DepEd. Among the names that we've said, do you have any particular thoughts or opinions about them and their capabilities in leading their respective departments?
Well, I would like to, highlight, this appointment of the economic team. So you mentioned their names already. So these are seasoned economists. So these are veteran, economists of the past administrations, who I think did, good things. Okay, in terms of laying down the needed economic safeguards. Things that we would need in case of, we have an unstable political situation. So number one there, of course, is Arsenio Balisacan. So he's a seasoned economist. He became, a NEDA chief also of former President Noynoy Aquino. He's joined by, of course, everyone knows this, Benjamin Diokno. He's currently a cabinet member of the sitting administration. He decided to join the incoming administration. So again, let me just highlight that these names are names of technocrats, meaning these people are known for their expertise and skills, economists, okay, and they are here to serve. So the thing about technocrats is that they kind of despise the politics that we have, okay, politics that that tends to ruin the kind of service that they are supposed to give in their particular office. But the problem with technocrats is that yes, they don't have politics. That's why they tend to disregard also the sentiments of their concerns of the people. So it's very difficult for them to hold them accountable. And that's the problem also of the previous administration, or the administration of the father of the incoming president, Ferdinand Marcos. Okay, so during his time, the technocrats were in control of the government. They were, handling the economy, and yeah, the problem there was that the sitting president Marcos Jr. Has had this body of cronies. So while the economy was doing okay, the cronies were benefiting from this, seemingly, economic growth that was happening that time. So many countries are, of course, opting to have this technocratic kind of rule, but eventually they have realized that with this absence of accountability, technocrats tend to, to merely control the government without any sense of accountability. So the extreme, problem that would exist there is, of course, the deep state, wherein they can control the government and they cannot be held accountable. So they stay there for a long time, and they can even choose the next leaders. So I really hope that this presence of the technocrats in the government or in the cabinet of the incoming president will be, tamed, okay, by the presence of the other, figures or personalities. And unfortunately, the other side of this, this clique or pool of people, they are known for their politics. Okay, so Sara Duterte, former Congressman Lagdameo. So they're supposed to, work together, or perhaps, they're supposed to check on each other. So let's just hope for the best that, these two, pools of people, or two cliques, okay, can do something to really, make sure that the government would function, well, in the next 6 years.
Professor, if you were to make a prediction, what do you think will be this administration's top priorities and focus?
I think this government will focus on the economy. Okay, in particular the recovery of our economy. Given that this past 2 years we were struggling because of COVID-19. And then number two, I'm also sensing that this government will also prioritize, the COVID-19 resiliency. Okay, so this is a very serious concern because we cannot just rely on, lockdowns, or perhaps preventing people from moving. COVID resiliency would entail institutionalizing, or perhaps proposing, changes with the way we run things, especially with our economy. So, for example, COVID-19 sensitive ways of doing business. Okay, so more health protocols. Yes, you may be in the mall, or you may buy stuff online, but again, when I say COVID-19 sensitive, the priority there is the hygiene, the cleanliness, making sure that the food that will be served is okay or safe to be eaten, as well as the products that that we will be receiving or that we will be buying. Okay, they must be safe. So again, these are the things that this government, I think, will be focusing on when it comes to making our economy COVID-19 proof. Okay, number three, I'm also sensing that the government will be changing the constitution. So expect that. So again, economy, COVID-19, and of course the constitution. So I'm very much, I'm very much confident on that issue, because this is very, consistent with the way that this government or this new government wants to, create. Okay, when it comes to our the political system, the political narrative that supports the system. So remember, the incoming president used to be part. Sorry, he is part of a dynasty, the Marcos dynasty, and the former president Ferdinand Marcos was overthrown by this EDSA 1986 narrative. So this EDSA 1986 narrative, is the basis of the 1987 Constitution. So many of the things that we value, embrace nowadays, they're connected to the EDSA 1986 narrative that is anti-dictatorship, that is anti-authoritarianism, anti-corruption. The incoming president is connected to that, okay, dynasty, connected to that regime. In fact, he's part of the martial law regime. So he used to be part of the Presidential Security Group. His sister, Senator Amy Marcos, used to be part of the government. Imelda Marcos used to be the governor of Metro Manila. They used to be part of the martial law era. So expect that they will try to rehabilitate, sanitize the name of Marcos. They will try to create a new constitution that would perhaps give new meaning to Marcos regime or Marcos presidency. So this is part of the restoration project of the Marcoses. Change the constitution, you will have a new narrative. So I think that's the other priority of this administration.
Professor Aguirre, since you brought it up already, President Duterte also mentioned in a pre-recorded talk, he advised Bongbong Marcos and his administration to initiate charter change. And among the changes, for example, is dropping the party list systems. And I'd like to ask, if they were to push through with this, what do you think the implications will be? And are you comfortable sharing your thoughts if this is something that you are agreeable with or comfortable with?
Yeah, knowing President Rodrigo Roa Duterte, he is, known for, or he's popular. He's, very into, okay, you know, saying, I mean, so many things, mentioning stuff that are not, really what it really means to, to convey or say in public. So my idea or my thought there is that he may be targeting the party list system, but I think he's just using this party list system as an alibi, perhaps to rally or to mobilize his supporters in case of this charter change deliberation begins. Okay, so he knows very well that the Filipino people, they are not that comfortable in changing the constitution. So he's kind of, helping the administration of Marcos in terms of, signaling them, about this what to say and what not to say when it comes to charter change. So again, Duterte is known for that. Okay, saying things that he really means, otherwise, or he really means, a different thing. So I am assuming that when he mentioned that, the plan to change the constitution is meant to abolish the party list system. I don't think that what he really means. Okay, or that's what really is his intention. So I think his intention there is to help or assist the new administration on how to navigate this charter change issue. So what then is the main point of this charter change, or this plan to change the constitution? So as I have mentioned earlier, number one, you have there the intention to change the narrative of the new constitution. Second, of course, we should not forget that many of the allies of the Marcos or the second Marcos regime are known for having their own pet priorities. Like, for example, former President Gloria Macapagal Arroyo is advocating for the parliamentary form of government. Okay, uh, the federal party of Bongbong Marcos, of course, is known for pushing for a federal system of government. So again, these uh, 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 frameworks, okay, I think they will play an important role in structuring, the discussion of charter change. So again, people might issues. So Duterte is there to help by floating the idea that in changing the constitution, we are abolishing the party list system. We're going up against the communist movement. That's why if we cut the source of their funding through the Congress, we can we can easily defeat them through the military means.
Professor Aguirre, it was very surprising to see how much support Bongbong Marcos, for example, even Sara Duterte got during the elections. 30 plus million votes, significantly more than the second runner-up in the elections. And considering the public support that they seem to have, as well as, of course, even in the Senate, the majority of the people who will be placed in the Senate are aligned with the administration. How is the would you how feasible is this is this notion of a change in the constitution?
Well, to me, it's really possible, given that again, as you have mentioned, we expect that party alignments, will really give more power to the sitting government. When I say party alignments, expect that in the coming months, more people would join the political parties of Sara Duterte, Bongbong Marcos, and even PDP Laban, because I also expect that the PDP Laban will join the coalition. So this party alignment will give you an idea that they will, of course, create a supermajority in the House of Representatives. And in the Senate, of course, we all know that this new 12 senators, only one of them belongs to the opposition, and a handful of them are known independent, senators. But again, when I say creating this majority, this is one of the goals of the new government, to create a majority for them to have this control of the votes. So if you have the control of the votes, it would be easier for you to pass a legislation. And again, when it comes to charter change, you will need majority votes. So when it comes to the numbers, I am always, I'm always positive that they have the majority. So in fact, the top notcher of the senatorial election, Robin Padilla, has already made it public that he will file his first bill soon. So his first bill would be, initiating the discussion or the liberation of the charter change. So I'm expecting that the charter change process will commence or will begin in the next 2 years, because of course the first year would be uh, contentious and would be when I say full of tensions. I'm sure that in the second year everything will be done smoothly.
Professor Aguirre, you mentioned it earlier that one of the biggest strengths of this administration is their political will. Clearly, they have a lot of support and they seem to be determined to fulfill their objectives and goals. And it's very reminiscent of President Enrique Duterte. When he came in, he was pushing and promising changes, maybe in the form of federalism, among many others. And I'm just curious to know, it seems like Sara Duterte and Bongbong Marcos are positioning themselves to initiate a possible change in the constitution. But Duterte himself had the same level of support and political will. What do you think is the difference between this current administration and the one that's to come?
Well, I have noticed that during the time of Rodrigo Roa Duterte, the plan to change the constitution, again, it was structured, influenced by the idea that that the constitution will be changed based on the idea that federalism will be adopted. We will give more power to the local politicians or political actors. It did not push through, it did not happen because of the resistance to coming from other political forces during this time. It 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 was really difficult because the discussion and the very object of the debates, again, it was not that clear, okay, for many people. So remember, he appointed or he created this consultative commission. They studied the constitution, identified areas that must be um, you know um, uh, uh, revised or reformed. But eventually, Duterte lost interest because of perhaps the knowledge or the feedback that he got from local politicians. Remember, dynasties, powerful political groups, they are benefiting from the current constitution. So if they will change the rules of the game, of course, they will have a hard time familiarizing themselves of the new system. They will have a hard time redirecting their resources. So again, there's so much hesitation on the part of some political groups or political forces. Now, with this new administration, I'm sure they have learned their lessons well. Okay, that's why when Duterte mentioned that we have to change the constitution because we have to abolish the party-list system, he's already signaling this, or giving signals to the incoming administration that you must use a different alibi or reason in changing the constitution. So you must not really commit the same mistake that I did, because people will really resist that. So currently, many people really believe that there's this ongoing, war against the communist movement, and many people also believe that through the party list system, the communist movement again benefits from the presence of representatives in the house. They receive money, form of porks. Okay, they receive money and fund their operations on the ground. So um, Duterte wants to capitalize on this, this belief, this widespread, sentiment among the people, um, and he also wants to make use of his popularity. Okay, when it comes to this war against the communist movement. So there is an ongoing, effort to influence the sentiment of the people regarding charter change. So this did not happen, in the first administration, because again, 6 years is too short. Okay, the first few years were spent studying or perhaps observing the situation, and then the last few years, they realized that it's gonna be hard, it's gonna be difficult, because many people, I think, were not happy with the intention to make the government into a federal one, because the main messaging that time was that if we federalize, this will give more power to these sitting dynasties, people who are already in power, and other dynasties, or dynasties who are not sitting in power, they're not okay with that. They are, you know, they're not that into that idea. So they want to compete power using the status quo, or the 1987 constitution, because they're familiar with that system. So so I think that's the thing there, the difference. Okay, I'm sensing that this new or administration, or the incoming administration, uh, they 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 know what to do, or they are supposed to know. They're supposed to know what to do when it comes to charter change. So I expect that they will have more chances of being successful in changing the constitution.
Thank you for that, Professor. And I think one thing that you mentioned is there seems to be a sense of wanting to continue on what the previous administration has done. In terms of continuity, I'm curious to know, what are your thoughts on which possible policies the new administration will be focusing on, whether it may be the drug war or maybe the build, build, build policy?
Okay. Um, First, about the drug war. So I'm sensing also that the incoming administration will be tempted to continue this policy because you know why? This is a very popular policy among the people. In fact, this is the very reason why Rodrigo Roa Duterte still enjoys, a high trust rating or popularity rating, despite of the controversies that he has faced this past few years. The drug war to me is really close to the hearts of the Filipino people or his supporters because again, if you go back to the elections of 2016, majority of his supporters they come from the middle class, the new middle class. So they gained wealth, they bought new possessions, but this wealth is not really secured that much, secured in the sense that compared to the upper, middle class or the upper class, their wealth comes from the work that they have, call center agents, um, of online, work, etc. So when it comes to criminality or drugs, they are more concerned about drugs, and criminality than the upper middle class or upper class because they're the ones who are usually victimized. They commute, they don't live in exclusive subdivisions. So if you focus on the drug war and criminality again, expect that this same bloc who supported Duterte will support you. In the next 6 years. So I think this is very basic for the strategists of Bongbong Marcos. That with this drug war, you can still have the same support from the political base of Duterte. And of course, don't forget that his vice president also bears the name Duterte. So this drug war to me is something that Marcos will be needing for his political survival, because again, issues of corruption, issues of martial law. I mean, they will be thrown or they will be used by the detractors against Marcos in the next years. With this drug war, I'm sure the Marcos presidency can divert the attention. Perhaps they can also counter the messaging of the opposition. So I think this drug war is needed. For the stability of the administration. Now, for the bill, this is something that is also expected, given that um, you know this is also something that can project this optics of governance, that there's something going on in the government. And remember, when it comes to infrastructure, this is usually felt by the people directly. So imagine if you would construct a road, construct a bridge, this is immediately felt by the people. So the sentiment, the perception, will become positive eventually. So the problem there, though, is that remember, our economy is not that good. So they really have to recover first, address first the economic instability that we are facing because of COVID-19. So I'm expecting that in the next years, the Marcos presidency will eventually continue or resume this bill project of Duterte.
So speaking of economic recovery, so we've sort of dabbled on that a little bit. What do you think is going to be their biggest hurdles towards achieving full economic recovery, especially now that we are talking about trillions of debt that was accumulated during the COVID-19 pandemic?
I think the main hurdle there is the transition, meaning we cannot go back to the old ways. Okay, old ways of doing business, old ways of even teaching, old ways of commuting. Transition in the sense that the government should uh, be imaginative in creating new ways, okay, of doing business, teaching, new ways of commuting, doing transportation, and the government should complement this with, you know, institutionalizing reforms, okay, in the political, economic, social institutions. So this is the most difficult part, especially, you know, when it comes to um, um, recovering in the age of COVID-19, because not all governments are that imaginative. Many of the governments around the world, in fact, are having a hard time transitioning from the old ways of doing things into a new one. Unfortunately, some of them, in fact, still, you know, embrace or adopt, subscribe to the conservative, you know, way of thinking, or the way of thinking that really makes use of the familiar, conventional, you know, ways of doing business, ways of teaching the students. So um, I really hope that the incoming president will get the right people when it comes to, you know, coming up with their COVID-19 resiliency plan, because the transition to me is the most crucial aspect of this recovery, you know, plan, because you cannot have resiliency if you do not know how to, you know, transition from one, you know, phase or one paradigm to a new one. Unfortunately, the current government is really having a hard time doing that when it comes to the medical intervention, uh, vaccine distribution, opening the economy to make sure that the education, you know, is still functioning. They adopted, you know, the traditional, conventional approach of stopping people from moving, diba? So they implemented, you know, quarantine measures. So in other countries, they implemented, effective testing, tracing. That's why people can still move around. So the economy is doing well. So I really hope that with this incoming government, they would adopt, uh, uh, innovative measures based on science, of course, because COVID is here to stay, and we just have to be, resilient in this, COVID-19 age. Okay, so let's just hope for the best, and of course, let's just, uh, uh, help the government, perhaps. Okay, being part of the private sector, in our own communities, in our own companies, in my university, help, the decision makers. To come up with, this new ways of doing things that can really make sure that we can survive, this COVID-19 age. So I think that's the way to go when it comes to this transition hurdle.
Okay, so let's pivot this time to talking about international relations. So I wanted to ask you, Professor, on your thoughts of the role of trade and economic cooperation with other main economies like China or the United States for the future economic development of the Philippines.
Okay, so we should not forget that all economies nowadays are affected by COVID-19. So in fact, last year, there was this major economic, slowdown because of, the closures of, the economies, in China, United States, even in Europe. And of course, don't forget that in Europe also, they have, their Brexit there. In terms of economic, growth, development, and recovery, we have to, be mindful that you cannot have economic growth, you cannot have economic recovery if you close down your economy. So you really have to, interact, with other economies. Especially in our case, we rely on, trade. We have so many resources here. We use them for trade in other countries, and of course, we may have remittances from our OFWs, but these are not enough. So the incoming, or the government of the new president is expected to really intensify this economic relations, or economic uh, um, interactions with other countries. That's why I'm really expecting that the current government, or the incoming government, would continue its amorous relationship with China, knowing that China is still considered to be an economic powerhouse in the region. Okay, so it's our neighbor. So I'm expecting that the current government, as well as the incoming government, would really try its best to benefit, okay, from this closeness, okay, with China. I'm also expecting that the incoming government will reconsider its relationship with the United States. Reconsider in the sense that in the current government, remember the Duterte government's not that close with the United States, especially now that the United States has its new government. So I'm expecting that the Marcos government will try its best to have a closer relationship with the United States. So the question is why rely on the closeness with economic powerhouses like China, United States? The answer there is that we have to diversify our economic uh, interests. Okay, so we should not just rely, or we should not just trade with the United States, or we should not just focus on the United States or its allies like the European Union. Diversify in the sense that we should also try to engage other countries, because when it comes to economic recovery, we really need more economic relations, or trade with other countries. And I'm really expecting that this government of Marcos will try its best to get the best foreign affairs secretary to do this job, because unfortunately we have yet to know who that person is, though the name of the seasoned academic professor Clarita Carlos being floated. The thing there is that um, the foreign relations of the Philippines will be a crucial part of the governance, or the government of the Marcos regime. So this is connected to our efforts to stabilize our economy, our efforts to have a greater role in the ASEAN region. So again, the foreign relations, it's gonna be um, you know um, uh, a tricky aspect of this new regime. So if this government chooses the wrong person there, I am very sure that this will affect the economy and our relations with our country, with other countries.
Well, here's to hoping that right decisions are going to be made moving forward. Okay, Professor, we're just about out of time. Before we let you go, though, I wanted to ask overall, what is your outlook on the situation, our overall situation for the next 6 years with the new administration?
Honestly, I have to mention this, that during the campaign period, I'm a bit at a loss with the plans, or the platforms, the the main framework of governance of this incoming administration. They were silent. They were avoiding debates, avoiding interviews. They only attended interviews of well-known TV networks that are friendly with them. That's why this past few days, if you have noticed, most of the analysts, or experts, or political scientists, were speculating, merely speculating about what will happen in the next 6 years, of what, or perhaps what the new government is planning to do, you know, in the near future. But again, uh, based on what we are seeing right now, you know, the names that are being floated, you know, some of the statements that are being made when it comes to the economy, you know, I am I'm forced to be hopeful because as a political scientist, I am really trained to, you know, to be positive when it comes to, you know, running the government. Remember, political science is, you know, art of the possible. So I'm really hopeful that, you know, this government will try its best to, you know, to prove that this 31 million voters did the right thing of voting or supporting him in the election. Um, so far, you know, I'm a bit, you know, satisfied with some of the names when it comes to, you know, the economic team of his government. But I'm a bit concerned with, you know, some of the portfolios that are related to, you know, his governance, you know, DepEd, you know, press secretary. So again, going back to my first point, I know that it's not going to be easy or it's not going to be a walk in the park. But instead of just giving up and perhaps, you know, being cynical or being pessimistic toward the government, I think the best thing to do right now is to really hope for the best. So I really, you know, request, you know, the you know the citizens or the people out there to to continue to be vigilant, you know, to be informed of what is happening. Um, do not allow yourselves to be left out uh, of you know of the things that are happening around us. This is our country. This is your government. He is the president. So again, the best thing to do is to be hopeful, to contribute, to do something positive, to help as much as you can. Um, this is, you know, the government that majority of the Filipinos, you know, have chosen. So we do not have any choice but to do something. For the betterment of all.
All right. Thank you so much, Professor Aguirre. You know, a lot of our listeners, I think one of the biggest concerns, especially because a lot of our listeners are quite young, one of the biggest concerns is that they're not really that well versed in politics. You did mention, you know, to remain vigilant and to really educate yourself. Do you have any recommendations as to how they can continue to do that? Maybe like materials that they can check out so that,
Okay,
yeah.
number one, stay in school. Okay, stay in school, study. This is the number one or the best way to resist or to go against this disinformation that is, you know, very much in control of what is out there in the social media, even in the traditional conventional media. Stay in school. Trust, you know, your teachers, trust your universities, your colleges, your school. And then number two, join in this fight against disinformation by also helping other people to know what is, you know, truthful, what is not, to distinguish, you know, what is falsehood from what is okay. So um, we have our role, okay, to play in this, you know, this fight against disinformation. So this is not just, you know, the role of the media or the academic institutions. Ordinary people have a role to play. Don't share information or materials that are questionable. Always, you know, rely on authoritative materials like, you know, published books, statements or comments from experts. um, and number three, of course, when I say be part of this struggle, of course you must equip yourselves too. Again, aside from staying in school, you must continue talking, you must continue engaging other people, learning new information, learning new stories. This is the time when, when we citizens should be listening to one another, hearing stories of various people. This is not the time for us to shut down, to cancel other people, to perhaps to further divide the citizens or further divide the society. No, if you are hopeful, if you are really passionate about what's happening in our country, be a productive member of this country. You can resist in various ways, and again, one of the best resistance or one of the best ways to engage the government is for you to really educate yourself, to share the knowledge to other people, help other people to know. So again, it's something that we can do as an ordinary citizen. It is not exclusive to to learned individuals or experts. No, all of us are needed nowadays.
All right, there you have it. That is a wrap for us today. Again, this is Expert Q&A with Professor Arjan Aguirre. If you want to catch the full interview, you can check us out over on Q Radio 105 FM on all of our socials. Catch the full interview. It will be posted on YouTube. But that is it for today. Mike and Lexi signing out for Expert Q&A.